Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by. Welcome to the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange fourth quarter and full year 2020 result conference call. All participants are at present in a listen-only mode. Following management's formal presentation, instructions will be given for the question and answer session. For operator assistance during the conference, please press star 0. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded March 16th, 2021. The recording will be publicly available on Tase's website. With us on the line today are Mr. Itai Ben-Zev, CEO, and Mr. Yehuda van der Walde, CFO. Before I turn the call over to Mr. Itai Ben-Zev, I would like to remind everyone that this conference is not substitute for reviewing the company's annual financial statements, quarterly financial statements, and interim report for the fourth quarter of 2020, in which full and precise information is presented and may contain inter alia forward-looking statements in accordance to Section 32A to Security Law 1968. In addition to IFRS reporting, we might mention certain financial measures that do not conform to generally accepted accounting principles. Such non-GAAP measures are not intended in any manner to serve as substitute for our financial results. However, we believe that they provide additional insight for better understanding of our business performance. Reconciliations between these non-GAAP measures and the most comparable related GAAP measures are included in tables that could be found in our earnings press release and in the slide presentation accompanied by this call. Both can be accessed on the English Maya site and the investor relations portion of our website at ir.tase.co.il/en. Mr. Ben-Zev, would you like to begin, please?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Israel time, to everyone, and thank you for joining our investors conference. Today, we are concluding 2020, a very unique and challenging year. In the past 4 years, TASE has been focusing on the achievement of the 3 main goals of its strategic plan: reflecting the Israeli economy by increasing the number and diversity of listed companies, mostly towards the high-tech sector, enhancing trading and liquidity, and expanding the range of services and products offered. This year, many of those goals were achieved, and I'm proud to say that in the first full year as a public company, TASE recorded significant growth across the board. With respect to trading in the equity market, 2020 has witnessed a dramatic increase, reaching an average daily volume of 1.9 billion shekels, an increase of 43% over the average daily volume in 2019. Capital raising on the equity market amounted to 16.8 billion shekels, well over the 13.3 billion shekels raised in 2019. This year, 27 new companies, including 18 high-tech companies and 5 R&D partnerships with an aggregated value of 17 billion shekels, raised 4.6 billion shekels in IPOs, the highest number since 2007. Most of the IPOs were conducted in the International Common Book Building method, which was rarely used in Israel before 2019. The IPO momentum carried over to 2021 with 30 IPOs year to date, including 21 high-tech companies and R&D partnerships. In addition, dozens of draft prospectus are in the pipeline. This momentum is fueled by the performance of the TA Technology Index performance, rising 38% in 2020. Activity on the government bonds market was also lively as the Israeli government raised considerable amounts to finance the government aid program for businesses and households impacted by the coronavirus crisis. A gross total amount of 131 billion shekels was raised compared to 70 billion shekels in 2019 and the highest total in more than 20 years. Within the framework of offering a broader and diversified range of products, we launched TASE Up, an innovative private market platform on which private companies can raise capital from institutional and qualified investors. Viv, a building technology company, will join next week the TASE Up platform, and Group 11, a fintech venture capital fund, will soon follow. The top Israeli institutional investors participated in both offerings, and we hope to see many more companies and products listed on TASE Up. Another product we introduced in 2020 is Tafe Data Hub, a data system that offers direct, immediate, and seamless access to TASE market and reference data. The system offers several advanced data feeds and provides another layer to our market data offering. We continue in our effort to encourage more institutional investors to divert their lending activity to the Central Securities Lending Platform, which we have launched in late 2020 as part of our strategic plan. The effort here is still ongoing. Our main challenge is to harness some of the Israeli banks to join the platform. Another trend that characterized 2020 is the significant growth in the number of securities accounts opened by individuals compared to 2019 and previous years. This trend is in line of TASE strategic plan and correlated with the increase of public savings during the pandemic time. TASE has continued, along with its strong footprint in Israel, to increase its attractiveness to the global investor community. One may find a proof to this attractiveness in the recent announcement of ISS that it will be providing Israeli institutional investors with independent research and recommendations for the general meetings of all companies that are listed on TASE. TASE has also expanded its ESG activities, joining the UN Sustainable Stock Exchanges Initiative. Furthermore, in response to the growing demand for clean investments, TASE has launched two green equity indices, TA Cleantech and TA 125 Fossil Free. We are also continuing to try and improve our capital structure. Currently, 19.1 million shares are held by stock exchange members who received them in 2017 as part of the TASE demutualization. In accordance with the demutualization law, if these shareholders sell their originally held shares, TASE is entitled to receive the return in excess of 508 shekels per share. The company is contemplating an offer to expedite the receipt of potential excess returns through a combination of buying back such existing shares from TASE members and issuance of new shares. This offer is currently under examination of the Israeli Securities Authority. In 2021, we will be looking into our surplus capital and cash and exploring the best alternative for the use of those balances. Such alternatives could include the adjustment of the dividend policy, adoption of a buyback plan, and strategic investments. This alternative will be aligned with TASE strategic plan for the coming years. A year into the coronavirus crisis, Israel is on the verge of completing an impressive vaccination operation of its population. We hope and pray that this, alongside with the increased number of global vaccination rates, will boost the global and national economy. I can assure that TASE is more than ready to play its role in this game. And now, I would like to hand you over to Mr. van der Walde, who will continue with a review of the fourth quarter results.
Thank you, Itai. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I am very pleased to participate in our earnings call. We report another quarter with strong results summarizing a record year of revenues. I will begin with slide 4, which shows some of the key highlights from our strong results of the fourth quarter. Our revenues for the fourth quarter of 2020 increased by 17% compared to the fourth quarter of 2019 and amounted 77.5 million shekel. Our revenues for the year 2020 amounted to 304 million shekel, an increase of 17% year-over-year. Adjusted EBITDA for the fourth quarter of 2020 totaled 25.9 million shekel compared to 15.1 million shekel in the fourth quarter of 2019, an increase of 72%. Adjusted EBITDA for the year 2020 totaled 95.1 million shekel, an increase of 51% year-over-year. Financing income in the fourth quarter of 2020 totaled 1.2 million shekel compared to financing expenses of 0.4 million shekel in the fourth quarter of 2019. The transition to financing income in the fourth quarter is due to a positive yield on the company's investment portfolio comprising Israeli government bonds. The adjusted net profit amounted to 11.5 million shekel, an increase of 255% compared to the corresponding quarter last year. The adjusted net profit of the year 2020 amounted to 38.2 million shekel, an increase of 78% year-over-year. After going over the highlights of our financial results, let's take a deeper look at the composition of our revenues and expenses. Let's go to slide 5. Our revenues from trading and clearing commissions increased by 27% compared to the fourth quarter of 2019 and totaled 33.5 million shekel. The increase between the fourth quarter of 2020 and that of 2019 resulted from a 12% increase in the number of trading days this quarter, an increase of 9% from the higher trading volume on TASE following the COVID-19 outbreak, and an increase of 7% from higher effective commission rates. Our revenues from listing fees and annual levies increased by 8% compared to the fourth quarter of 2019 and totaled 15.3 million shekel. 5% of the increase resulted from examination fees in light of the growth in the number of prospectuses. 3% of the increase resulted from mainly new services and from an increase in existing fees, and 1% of the increase resulted from revenue recognition in respect of listing fees. The number of IPOs increased significantly during the last quarter. The revenue recognition from admission fees of these IPOs will occur in the future years. Our revenues from clearinghouse services increased by 6%, totaling 15 million shekel. 3% of the increase resulted from an increase in existing services rendered by the clearinghouse members, and 3% of the increase resulted from new services to companies. Our revenues from distribution of data and connectivity services increased by 20% compared to the corresponding quarter of 2019 and totaled 12.9 million shekel. 8% of the increase reflects revenue from data distribution to private customers. 9% of the increase resulted from charging business customers for data previously distributed free of charge, and 2% of the increase resulted from connectivity services, colocation and hosting services we launched in 2019. I will now discuss our expenses in the fourth quarter of 2020. Please go to slide 6. In the fourth quarter of 2020, our adjusted expenses totaled 63.7 million shekel, compared to 62.4 million shekel in the corresponding quarter of the previous year, an increase of 2% year-over-year. The expenses related to employee benefits decreased by 2.6% and totaled 33.4 million shekel. The decrease in the expenses reflects an increase in the utilization of vacation days in the fourth quarter of 2020 compared to the corresponding quarter of the previous year. Computer and communication expenses increased by 11.9% compared to the corresponding quarter of the previous year and totaled 6.9 million shekel. The increase is a result of operation cost of newly added computer systems. Marketing expenses increased by 54% compared to the corresponding quarter of the previous year and totaled 3 million shekel. The increase is a result of the timing of marketing campaign launches. The depreciation and amortization expenses increased by 4.4% compared to the corresponding quarter of the previous year and totaled 11.5 million shekel. I would like now to review our financial position highlights. Please go to slide 7. As of December 31, 2020, our equity totaled 630.8 million shekel and comprises 76% of the balance sheet, excluding open derivative position balances from our clearinghouse activity. In addition, we have approximately 347 million in cash and investment in financial assets. We don't have any financial debt. We have 142 million shekel excess liquidity and 298 million shekel excess capital. The excess liquidity increased by 7% from the beginning of 2020. And with that, I will turn the call back to our moderator to conduct the Q&A.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we will begin the question and answer session. If you have a question, please press star 1. If you wish to cancel your request, please press star 2. If you are using speaker equipment, kindly lift the headset before pressing the numbers. Your questions will be polled in the order they are received. Please stand by while we poll for your questions. I repeat, if you have a question, please press star 1. The first question is from Dan Fanon of Jefferies. Please go ahead.
Thanks. Good evening, guys. First question is on the 30 IPOs year to date that you cited. Could you maybe, and I think you said dozens in the pipeline, and you gave us some good statistics last quarter. Could you maybe just update us on, kind of what the filing momentum looks like? And then also, given we're seeing massive global issuance globally, and you guys are clearly benefiting from that, is there also a way to think about companies that are still potentially moving, that you're losing, that are migrating elsewhere? So just trying to get a sense from a market share perspective, how you think you're doing in the global context.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Dan, and good morning to you. So as we mentioned, we've had 30 IPOs year to date, and we also discussed it in our previous call. What's happening currently in Israel, that many high-tech companies that in the past didn't perceive TASE as a good alternative for them. And in most cases, they would have done M&A activities or private placements. Now, many of them are seriously conducting the possibility of becoming public. From what we are hearing from accountants and lawyers, we are still seeing strong momentum ahead of us. I agree that it's correlated with what we are seeing in other markets of the world, but I would say that some of it is also because of the changes and the infrastructure that we've put in place in TASE. We are now perceived domestically in Israel as a very good platform to be a public company. The majority of the IPOs that we are getting, they will be in most cases, with a market cap of 100, 200, 300, 400 million dollars, which is relatively low for the US market. So I don't think that we are losing market share to other exchanges. In fact, I would argue the contrary. I think that some tech companies that in the past were looking to float their shares in other exchanges around the world, now it's quite obvious that all of them are focusing on TASE. Indeed, the unicorns of the Israeli high tech, some of them are now entering into US SPACs with a valuation of a few $1 billion valuation. So with regards to this specific segment, those companies are still looking at the US market. But besides that, I feel that we are quite dominant at the moment. And if all remains the same, I see no reason for that trend not to continue.
Okay, that's helpful. And then is there a number, I think you gave around the filings last quarter, you said dozens, so are we talking north, is there a specific number you could point to or give that are in that kind of pipeline?
Yeah. Hi, Dan, this is Yehuda. Good evening. So in the first quarter of 2021, there already, until now, 30 companies that finalized their IPO and raise money through the TASE. On our website, there is another list of about 20 to 25 companies that are in the process and their prospectus is already in public. And after that, there is the process that they are in draft with the ISA and with us, and the number is between, as Itai says, it's dozens of prospectus that will come over the year. So this is the numbers that we can say about this about the IPOs.
Then I would also add that we mentioned in our last call numbers like 100 draft prospectus that we see ahead, and the trend is is still continuing. So it's impossible for us to evaluate the exact number that we expect to see this year. But it's not like a one-time or something like that.
Understood. Okay. My next question is on the 19.1 million shares. And so just want to get a sense of the timing and the process for how those might transition. And so have you been able to talk directly with the shareholders as you go through this proposal? I think you mentioned it's sitting with the regulators now to be approved. So maybe a sense of timing and then how we should think about this in terms of if it's approved, what any expectations around what you think the uptake might be?
Yeah. Well, I hope that in the next couple of weeks we will be able to know if it will be approved or not. Either way, we feel that we walk on a very strong ground with regards to that offering, with regards to all of the legal elements. I believe that if we will be able to continue with that, I think that with regards of the economics, it will make sense to some of the banks, if not all of them, to participate. So I would say that I think that at least, my personal thinking will be that at least half of them will agree to that offer. But because this is a very unique law in Israel, there's a lot of issues, about reputation, compliance, legal, media, etc. So it's, it took us some time to come up with that specific structure. We feel very confident with that structure. We believe that the ISA has all of the good reasons to support this structure because it is a win-win solution for all of us. And we do not intend to drag this for the next few months with us. We want to, as soon as possible, to know whether we continue with this or whether we say that we will continue to a different route.
Okay. And then the Tase Data Hub that you cited, just curious about what the uptake has been and maybe the penetration of your kind of existing clients or members that are utilizing this, or how we should think about kind of the momentum and the revenue profile as that builds.
Hi, Dan. We are now in the process of developing the products and the infrastructure for distribute the data, and officially it will launch during the year and will be following with marketing campaign, and so it's something that will influence through 2021, and now most of the revenues is also that we through the API, but from existing distributors that purchasing the data and distributed it. So the direct market, it will be open and will be in active. It will be through 2021.
You've seen our growth on our data services, and it's aligned with the increased number of individual accounts. And I think that in our overall strategy of increasing our data products and services, we believe that this one would also enable us to get a better penetration of the Israeli market.
Okay. And you did also, in your prepared comments, talk about 2 new indexes that either have or are in the process of being launched. Can you remind us how many indexes you have out there, and that you, I believe, are now charging the data and or license fees around those products, or how we should think about the revenue attribution to the index business?
Well, we launched these 2 indices, the TA Cleantech and the TA 125 Fossil Free. Our direct revenues for indices are very minor as an index provider, but obviously we generate revenues from the trading and the modification of each index, and we own and run all of our equity and debt indices, and we obviously are putting a lot of emphasis to come up, with tailor-made indices and make sure that we'll have lucrative products with this respect. And ESG is one example of something that we have been conducting.
Okay. And then on the Central Securities portfolio platform, I'm sorry, you talked about getting the banks to participate. So a similar kind of question in terms of uptake and how this is progressing and how we should think about the utilization of that platform and what percentage of the market or a way to think about who is tapping into that currently.
Okay, so we know that there is a demand for that product. Our main issue is that out of the 5 large banks in Israel, only one agreed to connect to the system. Some of the Israeli banks fear that this platform will hurt their securities lending business. And I've mentioned it in our previous call. We know that the Israeli institutions are very keen to participate in that platform, and some of them are rather frustrated because the Israeli banks that they are working with them do not give them the access to the platform. So I think that if the large Israeli banks will not change their minds and start working with us, some of the Israeli institutions will connect directly to the platform, and then we will have activity in the securities lending platform. I guess that in the next couple of months, we will see which path will take place.
Okay. And then going back to the share offering and the 19.1 shares and kind of the timing, as you mentioned, weeks. So is it fair to assume the timing of what you will be talking publicly about your use of capital between the 3 buckets you highlighted around buyback and dividend and investing, that those will be the timing of clarity around what that you'll do with that will be in conjunction with the resolution with the shareholders?
Exactly.
Okay. And then last question is on the effective commission fees kind of were up generally across the board. I assume it's just mixed, but were there pricing changes or things that came in that were more specific to the favorable trend in the underlying kind of rates that were produced in the quarter?
This quarter, there was no change in our pricing fees. It's only the size of the transaction that influence of the on the effective rates of the commission.
Okay. And then I guess I do have one more, considering we're kind of in mid-March and just kind of talk just generally about the trends here to start 21 and how kind of your outlook it seems like momentum, as we talked about on the listing side, is quite good. So maybe just the health of the markets, activity levels, and then ultimately the growth of the non-transactional business as you look ahead for kind of 2021, maybe the context of how the year has started and kind of any kind of I don't know, say guidance or outlook that you could provide in terms of growth rates would be helpful.
Dan, we are not giving any guidance in about the forthcoming years, but we started the year in volumes and the public information that we have, that all the elements that followed through 2020 and increase our revenues are following and continue through the 2021.
Yeah, I would say then that when you look at our results, You see the double-digit growth in each one of the segments, and the way I see it going forward, there is, I expect us to continue to grow in each one of those segments. Obviously, with regards to trading and clearing, there are always sometimes macro that can affect the business, which put more importance on the revenues that comes not from trading and clearing. I think that we still have many things on our table to execute and to continue to grow our business. We are only at the beginning of our way. It's been only a year and a half since we became public. And the way we see it going forward, we expect to make the best and to leverage all of our capabilities. And I think it will take us some time before we feel that our business is more mature, so we can feel comfortable in giving guidelines going forward.
Understood. Okay, well, I appreciate you taking all my questions. Thank you.
With pleasure.
If there are any additional questions, please press star 1. If you wish to cancel your request, please press star 2. Please stand by while we poll for more questions. There are no further questions at this time. Thank you. This concludes Tel Aviv Stock Exchange fourth quarter and full year 2020 result conference call. Thank you for your participation. You may go ahead and disconnect.